Today we're going to cover the geography of ancient Egypt. In today's lesson we're going to talk about where Egypt is located in the world. We're going to talk about the Nile River. We're going to talk about the climate and deserts and agriculture and other aspects of the geography of Egypt. So let's get started today with where is Egypt located in the world. This is the United States right here. This is North Carolina. Come across the Atlantic Ocean. Egypt is in the northeast corner of Africa, right here. To the north, in this piece of water, is the Mediterranean Sea. It is a dominant sea in this area of the world. It is where some of the most important world events have happened in history. And we're going to bring up the Mediterranean Sea a little bit later on in the school year. The Nile River. The Nile River is on the eastern side of Egypt. It flows south to north. Now, south to north is unique because most rivers and most waterways in the world flow north to south. The Nile flows south to north. It is primarily due to this country right here, known as modern-day Ethiopia. Every year, Ethiopia has monsoons, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in a later unit. And Ethiopia floods. And because of that, it flows south to north and not north to south. Good things that happen due to the Nile River. Travel. People can get from one side of Egypt to the other side of Egypt due to basically traveling the Nile River. Also food sources. Fish can be caught out of the Nile River and is an adequate food source for people. And the most prominent advantage for the Nile River is a water source. People can bathe, people can clean themselves, people can drink. They can basically take the water and use it as an endless supply of things to do with it for the water source. Now the water source, there is some bad things that happen, but as history comes on, as history goes through time, the water source becomes more of an advantage than a disadvantage. So let's move on to desert. Most of the Sahara Desert is located in Egypt. There's a total part of the Sahara or total part of deserts, 3.5 million square miles of deserts in Egypt. It covers 90% of Egypt. So deserts cover 90% of all the land of Egypt. There are several disadvantages for deserts being in Egypt. There's little rainfall, there's intense sun, and there's cold temperatures. Surprisingly, in deserts, there are cold temperatures that people don't relate deserts with, but it does happen. There are advantages. Few invaders come through the desert. Number one, they can't make it through because it's so hot and they're not ready for it. Another reason, they just don't want to because it is hot. There are also two lands of Egypt. There's the red land. The red land, red, orange, yellow, those colors kind of go in the same family. Anytime red, yellow, and orange go together, it basically means hot, sandy, desert. So the red land is sandy desert. You also have the black land of Egypt. It is the area that flows right around the Nile River. It is where the rich silt soil is. It is where sand and water mix. It is the home to the best form of agriculture there is in Egypt. So let's move on to the final part of our geography lesson for today. Climate. Sunshine in Egypt is throughout the entire year. There are 2 season years in Egypt. There's the cool winters and the hot summers. Hot summers range anywhere from 100 degrees or 95 degrees to 150, 175 degrees. It is hot in the desert. Rainfall only amounts to 4 to 8 inches a year. There have been storms in the summer. One in particular, that at RDU Airport, where most rain is determined at, there was 4.17 inches. So rainfall here in North Carolina, we can get 4 inches in one storm. They can barely get 4 inches the entire year. So that's the big disadvantage as far as climate goes. Agriculture, as far as farming goes, only 4% of all their land is for farming. It's best along the Nile River or the Black Land. The main crop in Egypt is cotton. Over time, they trade with other areas to bring in more crops, but the main crop that they grow in Egypt is cotton. So today in the geography lesson we have talked about the following things. We have talked about where Egypt is located. We have talked about the Nile River. We have talked about the Sahara Desert and other deserts. We have talked about the red land and the black land. We have talked about the weather or the climate, and we have talked about farmland. This is the geography lesson for today.